You are, in the most literal sense, drowning. From the inside, in a dry room.
You feel fine right now. But if you breathed in hantavirus 48 hours ago, something is already happening inside your lungs. Something you cannot feel. Something you cannot stop. And by the end of this weekend, you could be drowning without ever stepping near water. Most viruses are blunt. They break into your cells and tear them apart. Hantavirus is different. It doesn't destroy. It hijacks. It targets the cells that line the tiny blood vessels inside your lungs, vessels thinner than a human hair. These cells are the gatekeepers. Their job is to hold fluid inside your bloodstream, where it belongs. The virus doesn't kill them. It just changes their orders. And that is what makes hantavirus so strange and so deadly.
After you breathe in the virus, nothing happens. Not for days, sometimes not for weeks. The incubation period can last anywhere from 1 to 8 weeks. Most people start feeling something around 2 to 4 weeks in. And when it begins, it feels like the flu. Fever, aching muscles, a dull headache, maybe some stomach pain. You take some medicine, lie down, wait it out. That is the trap. Somewhere between 3 and 6 days into the illness, the virus reaches a tipping point. Doctors call it the cardiopulmonary phase. We can call it what it really is, the cliff. The hijacked cells in your blood vessels start letting fluid through. The walls become leaky, and the liquid part of your blood, called plasma, begins to flood into your lungs. Your lungs are made of millions of tiny air sacs. Each one is supposed to be filled with air, so oxygen can pass into your blood. Now they are filling with liquid. You are, in the most literal sense, drowning. From the inside, in a dry room.
Wait. It gets crazier.
Here is the cruelest part. The virus itself isn't doing most of the damage. Your own immune system is. When your body realizes the virus is there, it sends in a storm of immune cells. They attack, they inflame, they make the blood vessels leak even more. The response designed to save you is the thing that kills you. Within 24 to 48 hours, blood pressure crashes. The heart, starved of oxygen and overwhelmed, begins to fail. Heartbeats become erratic, then weak, then absent. Here is something almost no one knows. When doctors examine the lungs of people who died from hantavirus under a microscope, the tissue looks almost normal. There are no holes, no destruction, no visible wounds. The killer leaves no fingerprints. The patient drowned in their own fluid, and the lungs themselves look fine.
In the United States, about 36% of people who develop the lung form of hantavirus, what doctors call hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, die from it. For comparison, COVID-19 killed roughly 1% of the people it infected. Hantavirus kills more than 1 in 3. And the carrier? A deer mouse, about the size of your thumb. Scientists estimate that around 15% of deer mice in the wild carry the virus. Here's what most people don't realize. You don't have to see a mouse. You don't have to touch one. The virus lives in their droppings, their urine, their saliva. When the droppings dry out and someone sweeps the floor or vacuums an old shed or shakes out a blanket left in a cabin, the particles float into the air and you breathe them in. A weekend cleaning project, a camping trip, a storage unit. That is how it happens. If you reach a hospital in time, the doctors will tell you something hard to hear. There is no cure for hantavirus, no antiviral drug, no vaccine. What they can do is buy time with a machine called ECMO. It takes blood out of your body, adds oxygen to it, and pumps it back in, doing the work your flooded lungs no longer can. If doctors start ECMO early enough, survival rates jump to around 80%. If they don't, most deaths happen within 24 to 48 hours of the lungs giving out.
But while we understand the science now, for decades, this killer was a complete mystery.
The virus was first identified in 1951 during the Korean War. Around 3,000 American and United Nations soldiers fell ill near a river called the Hantan. That's where the name comes from, a river. It was first identified in America in 1993. A young long-distance runner in New Mexico collapsed and died. His fiancée had died of the same mysterious illness days earlier. Doctors didn't know what they were looking at. the CDC discovered a brand new virus. They named it Sin Nombre, Spanish for no name. The cause? Heavy rains the year before had created a boom in piñon nuts. The mice ate the nuts, the mice multiplied, and the virus came with them.
Most hantaviruses cannot spread from person to person. There is one exception, the Andes virus in South America. It is the only known hantavirus that can pass between humans through close contact. Scientists have even found it in the breast milk of infected mothers. It is rare, but it happens. In February 2025, a 65-year-old classical pianist named Betsy Arakawa was found dead at her home in Santa Fe. Beside her, her husband, the actor Gene Hackman, and one of their dogs. The investigation revealed that Betsy had died of hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. The disease was back in the headlines, and most people had never heard of it before.
For the people who survive, and some do, something strange happens during recovery. Their bodies begin to flush out massive amounts of urine, liters of it, day after day. It is the fluid that nearly drowned them, finally leaving. Hantavirus is not common. It is not contagious in most forms. You can go your whole life and never come close to it. But it is a reminder of something we forget too easily. Sometimes the deadliest things in the world are not the ones with teeth, or claws, or even symptoms you can see coming. Sometimes they are silent, invisible, patient, and by the time you feel them, they are already inside.
If that changed the way you think about something as small as a mouse, subscribe to Fortune Facts. We cover the world's biggest, strangest, most overlooked stories every week.